A whistleblower from Red Hat, owned by IBM, has leaked an internal, racist, anti-white presentation to the Lunduke Journal. We've read it. I've sat down, I've poured through it, and it is absolutely crazy. I want to say that I am shocked. I want to say that it's shocking because it should be shocking. The stuff in here is off the charts bad. But we've almost come to expect this sort of thing, so it's almost not shocking in a way. I'm going to read through. I just published this article to conservativenerds.locals.com, which is the political arm of the Lunduke Journal. It's the only place in the Lunduke Journal family that allows politics, by the way. Even though this has to do with Red Hat and IBM and all of that, we're not publishing this on lunduke.locals.com because we try to keep that place focused on the tech and free from all politics. And while this is a huge story, and normally a story of this magnitude would go there, I'm putting all of this over at conservativenerds.locals.com because I just don't want to sully the holy politics-free happy nerdy place of lunduke.locals.com with this sort of stuff. It's too yucky. I'm going to read this now to you. I'm going to link to the article so you can go read it. I'm going to publish this video to Rumble and YouTube and Locals. I'm going to put it up everywhere because this needs to be talked about. This needs to be known because the things that go on here that have been happening at IBM and at Red Hat, the king of Linux companies, it's not cool. So I'm going to read the article to you now. I'm going to show you some slides from the presentation, and I have some additional commentary I'd like to add on top of it. Stuff that I didn't put in the article because it's more my personal opinion on things, and some anecdotes on top of stuff. In August of 2020, just 4 months after Linux giant Red Hat officially became a part of IBM, a presentation was given within Red Hat entitled Allyship Kickoff. The Lunduke Journal has received a full copy of this presentation via a Red Hat and IBM whistleblower who wishes to remain anonymous. What follows is a collection of some of the slides and quotes. The speaker notes within this PowerPoint slide deck are fairly extensive, allowing us to know some of the specifics said by the presenter. A sampling of those speaker notes are included as well. Here's a little screenshot of them. The speaker notes in this were extensive. I don't know that I've ever done a presentation with this fully scripted out of a speaker note section before. I usually just have like a couple words in there to remind me of something, but holy heavens. I mean, this has bullet lists and paragraphs and speeches and monologues. It's crazy. But in this case, it's proving to be very helpful. So thank you to whoever put this presentation together for putting all of your thoughts into the speaker notes. It really helps us out. Let us begin with the opening slide. This is from the August 12th, 2020 Build Allyship Kickoff. Now, August 12th of 2020, that's a few months. I think that's 4-ish months and change after the Red Hat IBM deal was finalized. So at this point, IBM and Red Hat were now one. Right? The deal had gone through, the purchase had happened, and Red Hat was now part of IBM. So everything in here, while it is Red Hat, it is also IBM. So everything is part of both of those companies. Now, for those curious, BUILD, B-U-I-L-D, is an acronym which stands for Blacks United in Leadership and Diversity. It's an organization that is an officially sanctioned part of Red Hat organization. Red Hat's very proud of this group of people within Red Hat, and it's something that they tweet about fairly often and they talk about. You can kind of go look it up. And as the presenter states, it is fully supported by the leadership at Red Hat. The speaker note says, quote, "I thank the leadership team for their support, faith, and trust." Again, which just kind of underlines that everything that we're about to read is sanctioned. It is all part of what Red Hat wants to be doing internally. And that's kind of almost more horrific than anything else. Now we'll get to the first slide here. And those of you listening to the podcast version, you can keep listening, but I also recommend going and checking out the video or reading the article so you can see all these slides, because I'm not going to read every word on the slides. It's just too much. The first slide is allyship commandments. Your allyship commitment accepts these fundamental truths, and it has 10 truths. And it starts with openly acknowledges privilege and systemic racism exists and results in trauma, never questions the reality of our black friends and colleagues, rejects the idea that race is political, accepts that white people are responsible for dismantling racism, understands only white people are racist, knows the black community owes us nothing in this work, requires acknowledgement and repair of inevitable mistakes, is never rooted in white saviorism, sees the black community as a group of individuals and not a monolith, does not seek recognition or praise for a job well done. Now, this entire presentation is structured like a religious indoctrination, right from the start, beginning with the allyship commandments, right there. I mean, look at that. A literal 10 commandments primarily focused on the evils of being white. Now, this one is probably the least intense in terms of calling white people evil. As it goes on, it just ratchets that level up through the roof. Here, it just kind of dances around it, right? It talks a little bit about how white people are responsible for dismantling racism, and only white people can be racist, right? And the speaker notes say, reverse racism does not exist, and we, meaning white people, have all the power. Like, oh, okay, all right. Next slide. And we're not going through all the slides here. There's a lot. I've been trying to go through all of these, and I'm working with a number of other whistleblowers from inside of Red Hat right now, not just to verify this, which this is verified at this point, I believe, but also to add some context to this, which I think is kind of fascinating. So the next slide. The next slide is the weirdest slide to me. How does whiteness work? And throughout here, one of the crazy things you'll notice is almost every time the word white is used, it's all in caps, like it's screaming white at you. Now, according to Red Hat and IBM, this graphic illustrates how whiteness, all in caps, works as some sort of a cycle. It's a big ring with arrows. It goes between 3 different stages of whiteness. It's very, very peculiar. Now, there are, according to Red Hat and IBM, 3 key portions to the whiteness cycle: blindness, power, and then the third one is divide and conquer. That's very real. So I'm going to read the details here. Blindness. White people don't know what we don't know. So what we do get carefully taught is what's passed down. Lies and omissions of the truth get equal billing in what we are taught. Okay, that's like a phase of whiteness, apparently. Now, power. This is the second phase. White is the default. Everything else exists in proximity to it. Read below it. Whiteness constructs the game, hides the rules, then rigs the game over and over again. Okay, jeez, man, you read this, whiteness sounds terrible. The third section, divide and conquer. Spaces are determined by race. These spaces focus inward. Non-white spaces are easily othered and then judged. Okay, all right. The speaker then said, quote, I want you to think about whiteness as a sociological construct because systemic racism was birthed directly from it and is fed by it all day, every day. Okay. All right. Now, both the slides and the speaker notes drive home the fact that white people are evil, right? We're talking evil with evil motivations. Another quote from the speaker. We, white people, are the oppressors because we feed and thrive on power at the expense of other races. Well, that doesn't sound nice at all. Note that this presentation from IBM and Red Hat makes it clear that they are talking about all white people, not some white people, not a few white people, not that white guy over there, not just me, all. And that no non-white people carry these negatives, right? This is very clearly spelled out. Another quote from the speaker notes, "We have divided people by race through privilege for white people and violence and oppression for everyone else." So that doesn't sound good. So next slide. What does do the work mean? So this is a fascinating slide because it doesn't make a lot of sense. The things in the slide, the contents don't seem to match the title of the slide. The title of the slide is "What does do the work mean and what gets missed?" And then the contents are in one column. It says, "What about Black excellence, Black joy, Black achievement, Black is beautiful, Black innovation," all that sort of thing. And then next to it, it says "the problem." And next, it lines up with each of those items about Black and then some sort of a good word, and it has "white erasure." And then it has a picture with the caption, "Greeks came to Africa as students to discover what Africans already knew. Writing, science, medicine, and spirituality were already part of African civilizations." Now, what they're talking about there is Greeks interacting with Egyptians, which were not exactly sub-Saharan Africa. Anyway, that's a totally different thing. I think the person who put the slide deck together doesn't really understand history. It's a little bit weird. Anyway, continuing on. The presentation also spends significant time discussing the idea that what white people have is gained primarily or entirely through theft and white erasure of Black accomplishments. So Black people have an achievement, white people steal it and erase the Black people, and this is repeated over and over again. This is Black innovation, white erasure. Black intelligence, white erasure. Black is beautiful, white erasure. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's what they're saying. Now, and one of the additional examples that are given by this in the speaker notes is, quote, "Beethoven was Black." Yeah. The musician, Beethoven. Now, was Beethoven Black? I did a quick search around the inner tubes on this, and apparently there have been a couple of people who have given speeches where they've said Beethoven was a Black man. And everyone who's like, okay, well, let's look into that, has concluded that that doesn't seem likely. Now, does it matter to me if Beethoven was Black or Chinese or Norwegian? I don't really care. It personally doesn't matter to me. The people who put this presentation together, though, it matters deeply, apparently, who is what color. That is everything to Red Hat and IBM. That is the life to Red Hat and IBM. It's fascinating. And that's not my opinion. That's what they're saying here. This is fascinating. Now, they also made, in the speaker notes, a recommendation to Red Hat and IBM employees about how they should handle social media. Quote, "If your Instagram feed isn't 50% Black, you're doing it wrong." They went on to talk about how if you have too many white people that you follow on social media, you should unfollow the white people and then find more Black people to follow. That's what you should do. I don't know why, but apparently the color of a person's skin is more important than anything to Red Hat and IBM. The next slide, the allyship journey, the road to equality, equity, and justice. This one has 3 columns in it. Right? So the leftmost column, number 1, addresses whiteness, is what it says. It says things like white judgment, white theft, white history, white supremacy, white censorship. And number 2 says clear lens. Black behaviors, Black culture, Black oppression, Black celebrity, Black art, Black stories. And then number 3 says C plus center. Black excellence, Black joy, Black achievement, Black is beautiful, Black innovation, etc. Now, you'll note that the portion of the slide which deals with whiteness on the far left focuses on negatives. Theft, supremacy, censorship, elitism. Whenever whiteness is mentioned, it's always not just negative, but it's usually evil or harmful or predatory. While the portions dealing with Blackness, the other 2 columns focuses on positives. Culture, history, art, beauty, joy, excellence. White, evil, Black, good, repeated over and over again. Throughout this whole presentation, it just never stops. It's constant. The point is made clear that according to IBM and Red Hat, according to their presentation, their internal presentation that has their logo and name all over it on every single page, the only reason white people have good things is through domination and oppression. Again, that's not my impression. Nothing I've told you so far is my interpretation. These are just their words. A speaker quote here from this slide. White creates the game, then rigs it because it can, because it dominates and oppresses. See? Over and over again. This keeps coming. The next slide. Outcomes. Where does this work lead? Now, these aren't even all the slides. I'm still going through a lot of them. We're going to be publishing more of these in the coming days. Where does this work lead? Your allyship journey will prepare you to, now follow along with me here, because I'm going to read you a bullet list from this slide. It is fascinating. First, have difficult conversations, difficult all in caps, with other white people and yourself. Call out others and support in their race conversations. Ask the right diversity and inclusion and inclusivity D+I questions in our white spaces. Examine and re-examine your own biases. See opportunities for true diversity and inclusivity improvements and help achieve them. And then finally, create psychological safety for your black colleagues and friends. Now, this is interesting because this presentation contains significant calls to action that feel very strongly cultish, right? Spread the message. Feel bad about yourself for being white. Encourage other white people to feel bad about themselves while you're spreading that message to them. Cause yourself discomfort. I mean, they made it all in caps there. Difficult conversations. That's self-flagellation. It's basically what we're talking about here is to cause yourself discomfort. And then finally exalt and praise and basically worship those in the good class. In this case, black people. Every single step of this is wildly racist. And the structure of the entire presentation and the calls to action are extremely textbook cult-like. Textbook. This isn't not like, again, I'm not even talking about what I feel about these particular things. This is just what they are. And it's all of this is happening within and sanctioned by a large and successful tech company, by Red Hat, by IBM. Holy moly. I end here. There's another slide. You can go read that here. There's a great deal that still needs to be analyzed and published. A whole bunch. The Lunduke Journal really appreciates the anonymous whistleblower who supplied this internal IBM and Red Hat presentation. It is truly appreciated. It was very brave of you to do this. You did good work, and honestly, I am extremely impressed with how many people have come forward so far. There have been some bits of whistleblowing and some undercover research that's been going on. James O'Keefe has been out there publishing some things related to IBM, and that has really kickstarted a lot of people coming out of the woodwork to say it's time to tell their stories. And so thank you to James O'Keefe for doing that, because it really kickstarted it. Whatever any of you think or don't think about James O'Keefe and his methods and his styles and his personal politics, whatever, the fact that he's doing this, he's helping to shine a light on something that's awful. I've been talking about the bigotry, the racism, the sexism, and just the vileness of the tech industry for years. I wrote an article a few years ago that actually I just republished it over at conservativenerds.locals.com because it's still relevant, and I think it's still important to talk about. I just republished it. But I wrote this a few years back where I did a survey, a big survey, with thousands of respondents over a huge cross-section of the industry, not just my fans, but this went out to a bunch of my very left-leaning friends who have YouTube channels and podcasts. They sent it out to their audience. I had friends in tech companies, distributed it at various tech companies in unknown ways. It was fantastic. We got thousands. It was 3,000 plus some odd respondents where we talked about and asked questions about discrimination and politics and gender and all sorts of things. And I mean, when you're talking about that many thousands of respondents, you're talking about more respondents than you get in the vast majority of presidential general election surveys, right? Like when the weekly numbers come out of what the next presidential election's looking like, they usually have like 600 to like 1,200 respondents. We had like 3 times that at least. I mean, it was fantastic. And the results from that showed strongly how many people had been discriminated against within big tech companies because they were conservative. Right? Not even because they were talking about conservative things, not because they expressed a conservative idea in the company, just because someone in the company happened to know that in their personal life or in their personal Twitter account or on their personal Facebook page, they made a conservative comment or it became known that they voted for Trump or some other conservative, and they got discriminated against in some way for that. And it's wild how high those numbers were, in my opinion. And I've gone to conferences. I literally sat in a conference. I was at a sub-conference of OSCON, the open source conference that gets put on by O'Reilly. There was a sub-conference there. And one of the OSCON organizers was giving a keynote there, a big keynote up at the front of the stage. And this guy, who is currently an executive at Microsoft, got up in front of the audience, pulled up a slide, and admonished people and demanded practically that people needed to commit crimes against white men because white men were bad. And the whole idea was his idea was, we don't need allies anymore. We need accomplices, people who are willing to go to jail and fight against white men. And like, it was wild. It was wild to me that someone would come out and do that and it would just be accepted. It was just accepted. And so anyway, that's all in that article as well, if you want to go and read that one. But so I'm very, very happy that James O'Keefe is now coming out and talking about all of the stuff that's happening and shining a light on it. And he's causing people who have been discriminated against or who have been witnessing this sort of vileness. They're now saying, you know what? Now's a time where I have a little bit of cover. Now's a time where we have we have the mass behind us. We can come out and talk about this now, and it's a little bit safer. And so I've been hearing from people at Red Hat as well as several other companies, and we're going to be talking about some of their stories anonymously in the days and weeks ahead. At least one guy wants to have his name on things, but most people are going to go anonymous, and I don't blame them. They still want their jobs. But I thank you to the whistleblower who leaked this out, because it gave a lot of insight. Now I want to say this very clearly. To Red Hat and IBM people in the executive team, marketing and PR people, whatever. If any of the material that I've presented here in this video or in this article is incorrect, right? Like, if you can prove that this is not a real thing, which I'm pretty confident that you can. I'm pretty confident this is all real. I'm feeling pretty confident about that, but I want to give you the opportunity to prove it to me. If the slides and quotes I have presented are missing context, contact me. I encourage you to contact me. If you contact me, I will be extremely fair. I will, if you Red Hat and IBM send me a statement, I will read the whole statement unedited on my show. I will publish the entire unedited statement on my website. No edits. I will give you the floor. If you feel that I'm missing context or I simply don't understand, reach out to me. I am almost 100% confident that you will not reach out, Red Hat or IBM. I'm almost 100% confident because you look horrible here. And I know that this is all real stuff. These are all your words, your slides, your organizations, your people who are still working for you. The person who gave this presentation is still a Red Hat employee. So my guess is you still stand by these extremely racist ideas. Extremely racist. Off the charts racism. Now, what I want to know is how have these policies, how has these ideas impacted Red Hat and IBM's hiring decisions, firing decisions, promotional decisions, organizational and structural, everything? How does this impact the entirety of the organization? I want to know that. I want to hear from you, Red Hat. I want to hear from you, IBM. I want to know that. And honestly, I feel like the nerds in the world deserve to hear from Red Hat, the king of Linux companies, all those details, every scrap of it, good or bad. You want to put a good spin on it, fine, but we deserve to hear the details. We're not going to. I'm almost 100% confident we're not going to, but we deserve to. And I want to say likewise, it should be known that the Lunduke Journal respects requests for anonymity by whistleblowers at big tech companies or little tech companies. If you are a whistleblower and you can prove and provide, some supporting evidence of what you were trying to say, and you are, on the up and up and on the level about things, I want to hear from you. I'm talking with a number of your coworkers already. You can email me at Brian with a Y at lunduke.com. And I will keep you strictly confidential. If you want to go public and you want your name attached to it, I applaud that for sure. But if you want to stay totally anonymous, man, do I understand that. Still getting out there with your story is valuable. Because even if it doesn't affect the change that you and I and everyone else clearly see needs to happen, it shows people that they are not alone. There are so many people who have been hurt, who have been scared, who have been penalized for being white, or lost their positions because they're a white man, or they've been discriminated against for being conservative or religious. These sorts of things happen a lot. And those people deserve to know that they're not alone. There's a lot of us out there. I mean, shoot, I've been discriminated against for being both conservative and religious in tech companies. I've talked about a little bit of it in the past. People need to know that they're not alone. So feel free to reach out to me. I will respect your privacy and your anonymity. And no guarantees that if you reach out to me, I'll even publish the stuff we talk about. I'm only going to publish the stuff that I can kind of feel confident in. Right? Like this. Man, this guy gave me check this out. I just published this article just a minute ago, and just like 5-10 minutes ago, and the spreadsheet is huge, and the speaker notes are gigantic, and I was able to go through it and really verify its authenticity, in part because it's so wackadoodle. But it was easy to prove. So anyway, going over to conservativenerds.locals.com if you want to follow those articles as they come out and join the community over there. It's very, very political community over there. It's the only part of the Lunduke Journal community that gets political, and it's going to stay that way. There's going to be a lot more around IBM, a lot more around Red Hat, and there's a few other tech companies that are going to be part of this story before it's all said and done. So follow that over there. If you want to just enjoy the more pure tech stuff with a lot less of the politics, go to lunduke.locals.com, and that's where all the tech is. You can get a subscription to both. If you actually just go to lunduke.com, you'll get a list of all the links. So you get like the RSS podcast feed and the links to the various sites and how you can get a subscription to all my sites all at once. I also have a site where it's just entertainment stuff, just like comic books and superhero movies and Star Wars and all that sort of thing. And so it's all there if you go to lunduke.com, and you can get a subscription there and all that good stuff. All right, everybody. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Like I said, part of me wants to be shocked by all this, right? Whites feed and thrive on power at the expense of other races. That is an official Red Hat and IBM position. Now, some of you are saying, oh, that's not an official position. That's just from a presentation within the company. It's got its logo on it. According to the presentation, it's sanctioned by them. I mean, they have their support in these statements. If Red Hat disagrees with these positions, I am all ears. You know my email, Red Hat. We've talked plenty of times in the past. Heck, I've had your CEO, your past CEOs on my shows. We've done videos together in front of big, giant crowds. You know how to contact me. You know how to contact me. But you're not gonna. You're not gonna. Because you agree with that statement. Or you're too gosh darned ashamed that you used to agree with that statement and you just want people to forget about it. Unfortunately, we're not going to forget about it. Not until you come out and talk about it. You come out and you say this was us in the past, but it's not anymore, and prove it. Awesome. Awesome. I will sing that from the rooftops. Hallelujah. But if you really feel this still, and you stay quiet about it, well, I'm going to assume you feel this still if you stay quiet. And I think that's going to be a reasonable assumption. All right, everybody. That's it for now. Thanks for hanging out with me. Oh, my heavens. Oh, my heavens. There's going to be so much more of this. It's utterly ridiculous. With that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes alike, I do declare. Oh, jeez. End broadcast.